So it's been a rather very complex week of business activities across the country. The most recent, though, being the visit of the Secretary General for the African Continental Free Trade Area. He was down here to try just set up a few facts about the opportunities that the businesses can have across Africa. We're talking the 1.3 billion market that is available from the Continental Free Trade Area. Of course, they did hold a meeting with the different stakeholders from the Private Sector Foundation, plus Uganda Chamber of Commerce and Industry, plus also CIPLA will be benefiting because there is a plan to see how the drugs manufactured from the Luzira-based company can be shipped across the region. Welcome to the Business Show. My name is Simon. This is what's coming up on the show this week.
You don't know how many birds you have. You don't know how many eggs you've collected. I have good employees, but if you have bad ones, they will teach you what business is without books.
Are they your relatives?
They will rob you. No, I don't know them. I don't know where they came from. A friend sent from different regions.
So it's important to have the bookkeeping aspect, but it's more important to have employees that trust you and you can trust them.
You must know the business as the farm owner, so that it removes any temptation of them wanting to cheat you.
Good stuff. So let's get started. I keep saying sometimes it's not about what you are doing. If some things work for you, then stay with that. There is what experts will tell you about how you can run your business. But if you have any strategy that you think works, it doesn't have to be very official. If it works for you and it's legit, just stay with that and make the money. That's, why you wake up every day to run that business. So stick with that. Otherwise, this week we'll start with the views from the top, and I think the latest is now what, 52.7 trillion. Yes, we're talking the national budget 2023-24, and civil society organization experts will tell you that the priorities of the budget are not really aligned to the interest of the people. And whereas it is talking about industrialization and mechanizing agriculture, it remains to be seen what impact it actually creates on the agricultural sector, which again employs about 75% of Ugandans here. So in this interview, I speak to an expert from SEATINI Uganda, who is Aloysious Kittengo, who talks about why it is important to ensure that the allocations address the basic interest of Ugandans who pay the taxes. And the question is, can the budget generally stimulate growth in the 2023-24 financial year? This is Views from the Top.
Hello viewers, I'm glad to be here. By name's Aloysious Kittengo. I work for SEATINI Uganda. When you look at the National Budget Framework Paper 2023-24, specifically the theme, which is full monetization of the economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, digital transfer and market access, you have to ask yourself, because this is the same theme which was brought from the other National Budget Framework Paper 2022-2023. So it means that even though we can have achievements which we can record, but for sure there are some pending issues which were not addressed. That makes the theme still be relevant. So to me, the question is, when you talk about commercialization of agriculture, because I would love to look at the theme itself before we go to the details. Commercialization of agriculture, what do you mean? Because a lot is needed in terms of commercializing the agriculture sector. And yet, when you look at some of the challenges that are facing the agriculture sector, we have the problem of inputs. We have poor inputs, which are hindering agricultural development. So when you look at those issues that are impeding Uganda to have good quality agricultural inputs, and you're talking about commercialization of agriculture, that means even in the other year or financial year, that issue was not handled well, and that makes it even surface in this financial year. But also when you look at commercialization of agriculture, you find that due to the stagnant economy we are living in, most of the people have gone ahead to sell their lands to earn a living, and others have gone into the border economy. So to me, I think even though this is a new year, a financial year, you find that under that aspect, little has been done to achieve what we want to achieve. The way the budget has been structured, it is a process, because you cannot use a one financial year to address or achieve economic growth. That's what we have to appreciate as Ugandans. So you find that even if there are plans to ensure that we can achieve economic growth, it is going to take time. But also, priority should be taken or given to those areas which can make us achieve economic growth. For instance, Uganda as a country, we know that we are good in agriculture, so we need to ensure that money is allocated in the agricultural value chain. So if we can allocate money in the agricultural value chain, it means that a number of Ugandans who are doing farming, who are adding value to some of agricultural commodities and doing value addition, can benefit more. But you find that the budget is silent when it comes to agricultural value addition, and little was allocated to the agriculture sector. Yet we are looking at how can we ensure that there is production and productivity in that sector. It is contributing almost 1% to the national GDP, and yet it is employing a number of Ugandans. So you find that if we can prioritize agricultural value addition, so far we can have the chain at each level of the chain seeing results, but also enabling Ugandans to be employed, supporting the backward and forward linkage, which can increase on the national's revenue, but also checking on our balance of payment, because we are more exporting the raw materials instead of exporting at least value-added commodities. So you find that more is needed in the value addition sector or in the value addition value chain in the agriculture sector that can have a chain of benefit that the government can tap into in terms of employment, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, but also in terms of revenue. So you find that that needs to be considered. Actually, when you look at tax, most of the people consider tax as a burden, and it is a burden. But what we have to ensure is that we use tax as a tool for development. First of all, ensure that where we are collecting revenue, we are able to redistribute revenue, not only in terms of wealth, but also in terms of investment. Because if you don't invest where you're going to get more money in future, that means the tax burden is going to increase. Government is going to look more in the areas of regressive taxes, that is the VAT, the excise duty, because they are unable to collect the corporate income taxes, and the number of tax incentives and exemptions being awarded to the other sector or to the other investors makes it difficult for the country to generate adequate revenue. So government should ensure that they use tax as a tool for development. Where assistance is needed, in the long run, that the government will be in position to generate more revenue, they should invest there. But you find that tax is more used as a means of collecting revenue than a tool for development. So government should ensure that that angle of tax being used as a tool for development is applicable and put into play so that we all benefit at all levels. Actually, when you look at the issue of the debt, Uganda as a country has put in place measures to check on the debt problem. But when you look at the other international organizations like IMF and World Bank, they are saying that you are debt sustainable. And yet for us, we have measures that are checking on us not to exceed the debt problem. So you find that Uganda as a country, when it comes to a debt or debt acquisition and management, so far we need to understand that for the nation to develop, we have to borrow because we are collecting inadequate, but not too little, because it depends on how you're using your money as someone. We as individuals, we have to borrow, but also you find that you cannot borrow where you cannot be able to pay your debt. But Uganda needs to ensure that we are borrowing our money to invest that money in productive sectors. Because if you borrow the money and you invest it in productive sectors, that means in one way or the other, the money you have borrowed is going to generate some revenue or return, which can enable you even to pay, using that money you have invested to pay on the debt you have acquired. But you find that most of the debts or the debts we have attained or acquired in Uganda are put in different, like now we have seen government is borrowing even to pay for recurrent expenditures, salaries and wages. So you find that that one is not developmental, but we need to borrow and invest in those areas where we can generate revenue to be able to pay our debts. Because even other countries that are big enough, that are holding bigger debts, are using debts even to pay, even to lend other countries. So you find that we have not actually studied well our debt. I'm sorry to say, but we need to know how can we use the debt for development. So to me, I think we need to acquire debt or borrow money and we use it for investment purposes, not for just for recurrent expenditure. So if we can use it for developmental aspect, that means in the long run we will be in position to pay and then reduce on the money which we are getting from the coffers of the government that are impacting on delivery of services, because a lot of money is being taken for debt repayment and it is reducing the available revenue needed for servicing the sectors like health and education, like agriculture. So that means that if we are taking the same amount, if you're taking the money we are supposed to pay in terms of premium and interest from the resource envelope, that is the consolidated fund, and yet where we invested that money we are not reaping any, that means we are going ahead to reduce on the resource envelope, which impacts on the service delivery that are needed by the people of Uganda. Actually, when you look at the budget system or the budget arrangement, the budget process, it would have been a win, because the way the budget is structured, it is in the way that the budget process starts at the village level. Those items that cannot be addressed at the village level are pushed at the parish level. Those that are not that cannot be addressed at the parish level are pushed at the sub-county level, and then the chain continues. That means the money which was supposed to address the needs of the people that were recurring in terms of the levels should address the priorities of the people. But you find that most of the priorities that are considered, yes, we own the national development plan, the sustainable development goals, and then the NRM manifesto, because we are implementing those concurrently. But you find that there are changes that are supposed to be addressed in the budget processes, whereby people highlight their needs. But when you go down to the people, I'm sorry to say, even if you go down now here in Kampala and you ask the people, what were your budget priorities? For those ones who were able to participate in budget conferences, they are going to tell you, I didn't see any. Left them out in terms of considering their priorities. And we consider the priorities within the national budget frame, the priorities within the national development plan, the sustainable development goals, and then the NRM manifesto. And we forgot the people's priority. So that means that people cannot associate with the priorities being addressed with the national with the national budget framework paper. You understand? Even if you are saying that I'm going to do this and this and this without addressing the needs of the people, the priorities in a particular financial year, they are going to feel like their taxes are not working for them. And yet it would have been better to say, for us let me just use Kampala and the ongoing situation, that we don't have like water within Kampala. And the people highlight it within the budget framework processes at their village level. And they say, for us what we need is water connectivity. And then within that budget, they highlight that we are going to at least to take 1 kilometer of water distribution within Kampala. And it is clear. And they come back.
So there you have it. If we can run the 52.7 trillion, I hope I'm getting it right, about 50, but it's over 52 point something trillion, yeah? If we can get it right, and this is what is run for 23-24 financial year, the question is, what burden of that will be aligned to the business community? I keep saying this, we know where the businesses stand, we know the inputs they're trying, we know how hard they're working, and we know how much URA is asking for in terms of taxes from them. So the question is, how significant will this burden be on these businesses if the budget stays as is? Well, wait to see what happens after July 2023. Time now for a quick break on the program with me, Simon. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll be telling you more on what you need to know about loans. It's been a conversation that has created a bit of concern across the public. In the meantime, just drop us the comments on our social media handles right below your screen. We'll see you after the break.